In the late 1990s, King's Dominion unveiled a roller coaster unlike anything the world had ever seen. Towering over the park with fire, fog, and an erupting mountain, Volcano the Blast Coaster was a ride that demanded attention. Powered by cutting-edge launch technology and built into a massive man-made volcano, it quickly became a symbol of the park and a favourite for thrill-seekers. But behind the fire and fanfare was a coaster that pushed the limits of what was possible. From its groundbreaking debut to its sudden closure and demolition, the story of Volcano is filled with innovation, challenges, and a legacy that still lingers. In 1975, King's Dominion opened its gates in Doswell, Virginia. Modelled after the success of its sister park Kings Island in Ohio, the new park followed a familiar blueprint, designed to attract families and thrill-seekers in equal measure. On opening day, the park offered a lineup including 2 wooden roller coasters, a scenic log flume, a safari monorail, and a variety of flat rides. But the most eye-catching feature was its towering centrepiece, a 1/3 scale replica of the Eiffel Tower. The park was an immediate success, drawing large crowds and making expansion inevitable. By the end of the decade, the park's ambitions were growing. For 1979, King's Dominion planned its biggest expansion yet, the Lost World. Towering 15 stories above the park, the Lost World Mountain was the largest ride complex ever constructed at a regional amusement park. Its exterior featured cascading waterfalls and rugged rockwork, with the occasional boat or ride vehicle emerging from hidden openings, offering just a hint of what lay inside. The massive man-made mountain took nearly 2 years to build, and became the visual anchor in its section of the park. 3 distinct attractions were housed within its cavernous interior. The first was Voyage to Atlantis, a haunted boat ride that carried guests past eerie scenes. Riders entered the mountain through a cave opening, drifting past haunted figures and shadowy sets. Though impressive in concept, Voyage to Atlantis lasted only 1 season. In 1980, the attraction was renamed Haunted River to more clearly reflect its spooky aesthetic. Haunted River darkened the ride's tone. For a few early seasons, costumed actors were even stationed inside, jumping out to scare unsuspecting riders. After the slow river journey through the darkness, the boats ascended a lift hill before plunging down an outdoor flume segment that emerged from the side of the mountain, ending in a dramatic splashdown. The second attraction was Time Shaft, a disorienting rotor-style ride that took guests into a subterranean chamber filled with pulsating lights and pounding music. The circular ride chamber would rotate at high speed, pinning riders to the wall. Finally, the third attraction was more family-focused, Journey to the Land of Doos. This slow train ride transported visitors into an underground fantasy world, populated by the Doozies, curious creatures brought to life through over 150 animated figures. Riders travelled through elaborately themed scenes, showcasing the lives and homes of these underground dwellers. But by the mid-1980s, the Doozies were gone. In 1984, King's Dominion reimagined the ride as Smurf Mountain, capitalising on the enormous popularity of the Smurfs franchise. The train layout remained the same, but the sets were updated with colourful villages, unusual houses, and playful animatronic Smurfs. The entire mountain began to be referred to by guests as Smurf Mountain, even though only 1 ride carried the name officially. Throughout the 1980s, the Lost World remained a unique centrepiece of the area, an indoor attraction complex unlike anything else in the region. But as the 1990s approached, the appeal of its ageing attractions began to decline. Smurf Mountain, despite remaining a family favourite, saw steadily falling ridership and closed at the end of the 1993 season. Time Shaft and Haunted River continued to operate for 1 final year, closing permanently in 1994. After that, the doors to the Lost World Mountain were sealed. The massive structure stood silent, an empty shell looming over the park. But it wouldn't remain that way forever. In just a few years, a new kind of energy would erupt from within. Even before the final boats drifted through Haunted River, a major change had already reshaped King's Dominion's future. In 1992, owners King's Entertainment sold the park to Paramount Communications, a media conglomerate that owned the film studio of the same name. It was part of a broader acquisition that included several other regional parks. The 1993 season began under a new banner, Paramount's King's Dominion, and with that new name came a change in direction. The park's new owners were eager to leverage their film and television library, and the first sign of this came quickly with the debut of Days of Thunder, a NASCAR-themed motion simulator based on the 1990 Tom Cruise movie. Though modest in scope, it showed that Paramount was here to inject movie magic into every corner of the park. By 1994, a major land was already under construction, Wayne's World, based on the hit film series. Its anchor attraction was the twisting wooden roller coaster Hurler. Then in 1996, the park unveiled a groundbreaking attraction, the Outer Limits Flight of Fear. Developed in partnership with Premier Rides, it introduced a technology that would revolutionise coaster design, linear induction motors, or LIMs. The ride used these magnetic launch motors to propel its train from 0 to 54 miles per hour in just 4 seconds, all while enclosed in a massive show building. Riders entered a secretive government hangar investigating a downed UFO, before boarding the new roller coaster as part of a thrilling themed experience. Despite its delays and numerous problems, Flight of Fear was a critical success and proved there was a strong market for launched coasters. For King's Dominion, it raised a key question: could lightning strike twice? While all eyes were on the new headline roller coaster, future plans had already been sketched out behind the scenes. Part of that vision involved breathing new life into the Lost World Mountain. Paramount's creative team began exploring how the space could be repurposed. One early idea was to use it for a new ride based on the upcoming 1995 adventure film Congo. But with Congo's lacklustre performance at the box office, the plan was scrapped. Still, the idea of turning the mountain into a new headline attraction stuck. Working with Intamin, Paramount set its sights on a more ambitious goal: the world's first launched suspended roller coaster, powered by linear induction motors. The original storyline, developed internally by Paramount Parks, envisioned riders as lava chasers, embarking on a perilous expedition through the heart of an erupting volcano. Guests would enter the ancient mountain, experience volcanic tremors, and ultimately be launched out of the summit in a fiery escape. Though this detailed narrative wouldn't fully carry through to the final version, its spirit remained. On July 22, 1997, Paramount's King's Dominion officially announced the project: Volcano the Blast Coaster. According to the press release, the ride would be the world's first linear induction suspended roller coaster, launching riders from the base of the mountain and blasting them straight through its peak at 70 miles per hour. Riders would begin their journey inside the mountain itself, seated in suspended trains with their legs dangling below. The train would twist and dive in and out of the mountain's rocky facade before accelerating vertically up a concealed track and erupting from the crater 155 feet in the air. From there, the track would immediately enter a series of heartline rolls that looped around the exterior of the mountain. Riders would swoop along the edges of waterfalls, dive back through the structure, and make one final 80-foot drop before returning inside. Extensive theming and visual effects were promised, including simulated lava bursts and sound effects to create the impression of an active eruption. It will be the park's 10th roller coaster, and by far its most technologically ambitious. If it's possible to replicate the sensation of being blasted out of a rocket straight towards the sky, this is it, said Wilson H. Flaw Jr., the park's executive vice president and general manager. He added that the combination of new launch technology and immersive theming would bring a totally unprecedented thrill to the roller coaster lover. Construction was already underway, with the new attraction set to open in spring 1998. Once complete, the renamed structure would serve as a dramatic icon once more, but this time it would be for something far faster, louder, and more explosive than anything that had come before. Following the July 1997 announcement of Volcano the Blast Coaster, work began in earnest to bring the ambitious vision to life. The massive mountain structure was completely gutted, with work on this beginning even before the coaster was announced. The intricate web of pathways, flumes, tunnels and ride systems inside the mountain were dismantled, revealing the reinforced mesh and concrete frame. Several holes were added through the mountain's exterior to accommodate the new roller coaster's support beams and track. The summit was cut off and reshaped, transforming the man-made peak into a volcanic crater. Still, a few remnants of the past remained. The flume channel from the haunted river could still be seen beside the new ride's gift shop, and the river basin at the base of the mountain was left intact. But as the mountain was being reshaped and the new ride installed, problems began to surface. Volcano was the world's first LIM-launched inverted coaster, and one that featured a vertical climb and a blast out of the top of a mountain. That technological ambition came with challenges. The ride's most dramatic element, a 155-foot-high roll bursting from the crater, quickly became its most problematic. During early testing, the trains consistently failed to generate enough speed to clear the element. Instead, they stalled and rolled back into the mountain. Though this rollback was safe, it highlighted serious issues with the launch system's power output and reliability. As spring turned to summer, the delays mounted. Although the park originally hoped to open Volcano in April 1998, the launch was postponed again and again. By late June, King's Dominion officially cancelled a planned July 6th opening, citing continued issues with the ride's LIM systems. To keep season pass holders satisfied, the park offered early ride time on Anaconda and Avalanche, promising that Volcano would still receive its own pass holder preview once operational. By late July, there were signs of progress. Test runs were spotted by park guests, and full-circuit launches were finally achieved. Rumours began to swell that the ride might be ready by early August. On July 31st, the park confirmed it. Volcano the Blast Coaster would open to the public on Monday, August 3rd at 3 p.m. Months later than planned, but still in time to be the marquee attraction of the summer. Even then, the opening came with a compromise. To improve reliability, the coaster would operate at half capacity, with riders seated in every other row to reduce the train's weight and increase launch reliability. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it allowed Volcano to finally get ready to welcome its first passengers. And after months of construction, delays, and technical hurdles, would Volcano the Blast Coaster live up to the hype? After months of anticipation, Volcano the Blast Coaster surprised guests at King's Dominion with an unexpected soft opening on August 1st, 1998. Without any formal announcement, the ride quietly began launching riders around 1 p.m, catching many visitors off guard. The coaster was originally scheduled to debut officially on August 3rd, so this early preview came as a shock. Unless, of course, you were one of the dozen or so coaster enthusiasts camped out at the entrance after hearing whispers that Volcano might erupt early. Word spread fast. As soon as guests saw trains blasting out of the crater, they rushed to the queue. By mid-afternoon, the line stretched through the African-themed Congo section of the park, with wait times exceeding 3 hours. But for many, the wait was worth it. Riders exiting the attraction raved about its smoothness. One even said it was better than a B&M invert. Others couldn't stop talking about the ride's 3 intense heartline rolls that twisted through and around the mountain. Despite operating at reduced capacity, with only 8 of 16 seats in use on each of its 3 trains, the ride remained mostly reliable. It suffered a handful of short breakdowns, each lasting around 15 minutes. But overall, Volcano impressed even in this soft opening phase. 2 days later, on August 3rd at 3 p.m, Volcano officially erupted to the public and media alike. The press release described it as Virginia's only active volcano and declared it the world's first inverted roller coaster powered by linear induction motors and the fastest suspended coaster in the world. The ride experience promised something unprecedented. Riders began deep in the mountain, legs dangling below as they were catapulted forward with electromagnetic energy. After weaving through the volcano's caverns, the train launched vertically straight out of the crater, blasting 155 feet into the sky. Special effects, including smoke and fiery bursts, helped sell the illusion of an unstable, explosive volcano. The park proudly declared, "There's truly nothing like Volcano the Blast Coaster at any other theme park in the world." The media buzz was immediate. News stations across the country aired clips of the unique launch system and dramatic eruptions. At the park, the hype was tangible. When security opened the gates just before the official debut, guests surged forward, racing to be among the first to ride. Some waited up to 3 hours. Estimates for the upcoming weekend suggested wait times could stretch to 5. Initial reviews were overwhelmingly positive. Though not everyone agreed it was worth the hours-long wait, some guests left content with one ride, while others jumped back in line for another. The biggest complaint wasn't about the ride itself, but the reduced capacity. While the coaster was running 3 trains, only half the seats were in use, making the wait times even more grueling. Still, many guests were simply relieved the ride had finally opened, and most agreed it was a unique and thrilling addition to the park. The opening of Volcano the Blast Coaster marked the beginning of a new era for Paramount's King's Dominion. But despite the excitement surrounding its launch, the ride's first season would be a challenging one. Throughout the remainder of 1998, Volcano operated with some downtime. The innovative linear induction motor launch system, still a new technology at the time, proved to be temperamental. In particular, the coaster faced a recurring issue: rollbacks. During the initial launch and curve inside the mountain, trains often failed to gain enough momentum to crest the towering 155-foot vertical sidewinder. When this happened, the train would simply roll backward, down the track, and be caught by a set of brakes. Running the trains at half capacity, using only 8 of the 16 seats per train, had helped mitigate this. The temporary adjustment helped reduce weight, and made it slightly easier for trains to reach the required speed. But it was far from an ideal solution. Guests endured long wait times while the ride cycled fewer riders per hour, and even then, technical issues persisted. Recognising the need for a more permanent fix, the park made critical upgrades during the 1998 to 1999 off-season. The most significant change was the installation of a second set of LIMs, positioned before the vertical ascent. This gave trains a much-needed boost, ensuring they could clear the rollout inversion more consistently. At the same time, the trains were finally upgraded to operate at full capacity, allowing for a smoother and more efficient ride cycle when the attraction reopened for the 1999 season. With those issues largely resolved, Volcano was finally running as it had always been intended. For guests entering the park's Congo section in those early years, Volcano was impossible to miss. Towering over the treetops, its jagged peaks loomed. Fire erupted from its crater, and coaster trains could be seen circling the summit, suspended below the track and twisting through heartline rolls high above the ground. Riders were drawn towards the base of the mountain, passing beneath ancient stone arches as tribal drums echoed through the jungle canopy. The queue wound its way up a rocky trail, weaving past an expedition camp and offering panoramic views of the forested Congo. Overhead, the maroon and yellow steel tracks snaked around the peak. Eventually, guests descended into the volcano itself, reaching a dark, cavernous chamber where the loading station awaited. The station originally featured separate platforms for boarding and unloading, a rarity at the time. Once on board, riders were suspended beneath the track, their feet dangling freely. The train slowly rolled forward, taking a 90-degree turn and creeping toward a darkened straightaway, lined with the first LIM launch motors. Then, the launch engaged. The train was catapulted forward, accelerating from 0 to 70 miles per hour in just 3.7 seconds. The train shot through a hidden tunnel in the side of the mountain and into a massive high-speed turn out of sight behind the volcano. Unlike traditional launch coasters, Volcano didn't slow down after its initial surge. It kept building momentum. As the train circled back toward the volcano, it passed through a second launch. this time accelerating from 40 to 65 miles per hour in just 1.5 seconds. The LIMs pushed the train into a near vertical climb, racing through the heart of the mountain before blasting straight out of the volcano's crater. This was the ride's signature moment, a 155-foot rollout inversion. Riders were thrown head over heels as the train erupted into the sky, a move that defied expectations and cemented Volcano's reputation as a truly groundbreaking coaster. What followed was a graceful descent from the mountain. Riders soared through a series of 3 heartline rolls, each one slightly lower than the last. 140 feet, then 125, then 113. The final surprise was an 80-foot drop back into the mountain, leading into the final brake run. Though the ride experience lasted under 90 seconds, it left a lasting impression. Guests in the ride's early years were thrilled by its speed, theming, and the unique sensation of being launched upwards. Even those who found the wait to ride agonisingly long admitted it was unlike anything they had ever ridden. While a few questioned whether the multi-hour lines were worth repeating, Volcano had achieved what few rides could in their debut years. It had become a sensation. From the very beginning, Volcano the Blast Coaster was a maintenance headache. The ride's linear induction motor launch system pushed technology to its limits, but with that innovation came strain. The LIMs generated intense heat and placed immense stress on the track and trains, particularly under Virginia's sweltering summers and unpredictable storms. Cold weather brought its own set of challenges, sometimes forcing the ride to remain closed as the system struggled to meet operational thresholds. Despite the frequent downtime, Volcano quickly became an icon of King's Dominion. Its towering mountain was visible from across the park, as its signature eruption made it one of the most recognisable roller coasters in the world. As the new millennium began, its striking visuals dominated brochures, commercials, and skyline shots of the park. Over the years, Volcano developed a reputation as one of the most unique and exhilarating coasters anywhere. Coaster fans praised its innovative layout, smooth ride, and dramatic launch. Reviews often cited it as a must-ride, and it consistently ranked high in fan polls and enthusiast forums. Its blend of speed, storytelling, and spectacle made it unforgettable. King's Dominion invested in minor refurbishments throughout its life, including control system updates, repainting sections of the track, and routine overhauls of the launch equipment. These helped keep it running, but never fully eliminated its reliability issues. In 2006, the ride suffered an incident. On June 23rd, a train rolled back during launch and was struck by flying shards of metal from the damaged LIM system. 15 riders had to be rescued, and 2 were injured, one suffering a contusion to the arm and another with a cracked skull. An investigation determined that the previous train had loosened a steel component on the launch track. When the next train accelerated, the compromised metal broke free, striking riders. Volcano remained closed for 3 weeks, while the park undertook repairs. While the ride reopened, the incident marked a turning point. As the years passed, the wear and tear on Volcano's complex machinery only grew worse. Its downtime became more frequent and unpredictable. Parts became harder to replace, and the aging technology struggled to meet the park's evolving operational standards. By 2018, Volcano was struggling. It opened briefly at the start of the season, before closing indefinitely just weeks later. It never reopened. Nearly a year after it had last operated, on February 8, 2019, King's Dominion announced the permanent closure of Volcano the Blast Coaster. The statement read, "This wasn't an easy decision for us, because we know that people love this one-of-a-kind coaster. However, over time, it has become nearly impossible to keep the ride up to our high standards of reliability and guest satisfaction, and for these reasons, we had to make the tough call." Removal started quickly, and by May that year, the demolition was complete. For many fans, it was the end of an era. Social media lit up with tributes, photos, and memories of the legendary ride. Despite its flaws, Volcano had become part of King's Dominion's identity. and with its sudden removal, one question lingered among fans. Would anything fill the void Volcano left behind? The removal of Volcano opened up a massive space for expansion at King's Dominion. The towering mountain and sprawling launch track had dominated the Congo section of the park for over 2 decades. Now with the attraction gone, the park had a rare opportunity, the chance to completely reimagine the area. Behind the scenes, plans were already in motion as early as 2019. Ideas for a replacement attraction were quietly discussed. Nearby, Tumbili, a 4D free spin coaster, would open in 2022 as part of a reimagining of the area into Jungle Xpedition. The transformation breathed new life into the aging Congo section, replacing crumbling theming with vibrant jungle aesthetics, research facilities, and story-driven design. Interestingly, not all of Volcano's structure was lost to time. While the mountain and track were demolished, part of the former queue building and attached gift shop were retained and repurposed. The structure became the Jungle Xpedition Research Centre. In December 2023, official documents revealed that King's Dominion had submitted plans for a major new roller coaster on the former Volcano site. When the park reopened for the 2024 season, groundwork had already begun. Track construction followed soon after, and on July 31, 2024, the park made it official. Rapterra was coming in 2025. Manufactured by Bollinger and Mabillard, Rapterra was set to become the world's longest and fastest launched wing coaster. When the new roller coaster opened in March 2025, guests found a wealth of references to the park's past. Articles, plaques, and set pieces quietly paid tribute to Volcano and the Lost World attractions that preceded it. The centerpiece, a massive caldera, a nod to the mountain that once stood there. Volcano the Blast Coaster was more than just a thrill ride. It was a step forward in roller coaster technology, a defining feature of King's Dominion's skyline, and a ride that left a lasting impression on everyone who experienced it. For 20 years, it thrilled guests with its explosive launch and unforgettable mountain setting. Even as maintenance challenges grew and the ride's reliability declined, Volcano remained a fan favourite, talked about, photographed and remembered long after the ride closed. While a new chapter has begun with Rapterra, Volcano's place in King's Dominion's history is secure. It may be gone, but for many, it will always be one of the most iconic attractions the park ever built.